Stage 4 provided us with the Tour's first signs of extreme conditions. But as the peloton crossed the Bixby Bridge, the rain paused and the views were outstanding. 7 riders worked up a near 5 minutes lead on the field as they made their way down the Pacific Coast Highway. Without anyone up front challenging his yellow jersey, Levi Leipheimer headed a relaxed discovery team. Riding into San Luis Obispo, the front pack tried desperately to keep their lead, but were caught by the peloton just 6 miles from the finish. The teams picked up speed, battling it out for position. This would make for an exciting photo finish, with the world champion Paolo Bettini capturing his first ever victory on American soil. Levi Leipheimer again kept the overall lead. Today, as he heads into the time trial without the assistance of his fellow teammates, Leipheimer will have to prove that he can keep the yellow jersey by himself. Stage 5 in Solvang is next. And you couldn't ask for a nicer day for the time trial stage, the most important stage of this year's Amgen Tour of California. Blue skies, we're going to warm up to about 55 degrees, slight winds are blowing. 127 riders survive in this event, but the interest is at the tail of the field. The riders now race alone, we call it the race of truth, and really it comes down, Paul, to a battle between the last man to go, Levi Leipheimer, and the man just in front of him, Jens Voigt.
Well, you know, we've talked all about this being a team sport for the last few days, but it really is today all about the individual. Levi Leipheimer has to ride this course alone, so too does Jens Voigt. It is a big showdown. It's what the Tour of California is all about. You've got the world champion of this discipline here as well. Don't forget Fabian Cancellara, but for me, the battle is Leipheimer-Voigt today.
Well, I think today, after the hundreds of miles we've ridden over the last 5 days, you'll realise now just how fragile a 3-second lead really is.
It's certainly going to be a battle of the big favourites. Fabian Cancellara is champion of the world at the moment of this discipline. He'll be looking for glory. This man, Michael Rogers, has been 3 times champion of the world, and he's actually just looking for 19 seconds to try and take the overall lead. Looking for 16 seconds, Chris Horner of the United States. He's not a great time trialist, but a good ride today could put him onto the podium. And of course, for me, the big battle, Jens Voigt. He's looking for 3 seconds. The aggressive man at the start of every season will be challenging the last man to start. Levi Leipheimer starts on the top. He won the opening day's prologue in San Francisco. Now, Phil, it's important for him to win.
All right, well, they're the stars. Let's have a look how they all sit after 5 days of racing. Leipheimer 3 seconds ahead of Voigt, only 15 ahead of Rory Sutherland and 16 on Chris Horner, completing top 5 with Theo Ardila. Ben Day, a former time trial champion of Australia, sits in 6th. Michael Rogers, ex-world champion, is 8th. Stuart O'Grady completing the top 10, but only 20 seconds away. Other notables, watch out for Bobby Julich. He made the places on this stage a year ago. Van der Velde, 16th overall, will look for a good ride too. Let's have a look at the stage map today, brought to us by Garmin. We're moving on from San Luis Obispo. We're down to Solvang now, where we stay for the whole day. This is going to be a terrific ride here. This is Ballard Canyon Road. They'll be approaching this towards the end of the race. Last little uphill climb before they plunge down to the finishing line. And there is the view, and these are the facts. Solvang, 14 miles time trial. You race alone, it's flat and it's undulating. Last year's winner, George Hincapie, he's in the mix again today. They're warming up at the start.
But this is Fabian Cancellara. He has been a winner of the prologue of the Tour de France ahead of Lance Armstrong a couple of years ago, and he's currently the world time trial champion. He's warming up.
Well, the race is underway, and this is Tom Zerbel here making his start, and the time he recorded was 30 minutes and 56 seconds. That was a huge surprise. We had a similar surprise at the start of the race in San Francisco, and that was with one rider from America, but this is Tom Zerbel, who's really thrown down the gauntlet for the riders now to challenge. 30:56, the best time. Let's go to the start house, Fabian Cancellara.
Well, you can see this jersey he's wearing. It represents the title of world champion in the individual time trial. He's a brilliant individual time trialist, and I think, Phil, this is going to be the first man to really raise the level of the bar that people are going to have to beat, because he is a specialist at this discipline.
He is. He's got to make up 5 minutes. I don't think he can do that to take the overall race lead off Levi Leipheimer. He lost another couple of minutes on the run into the finish at San Luis Obispo yesterday. But Fabian Cancellara will be a proud man today because he is the world champion. He's shooting at the time of Tom Zerbel. He set the marker for the rest to beat. We'll take a break. See you in a moment.
Donald.
And there in the start house as we continue now with the time trial is Jason Donald, the young American who really surprised us at the start of this race when he finished just a second off that yellow jersey on day one in San Francisco. If he can do that again today, he could get himself right back in the action. He slipped a little bit now into the mid-60s. Now joining us in the commentary box, Bob Roll. A little bit earlier for you today, Bob, as we look now at the start of Donald.
After some rainy conditions on the start of yesterday's stage, bright sunshine greeting the riders in the Golden State. Fabian Cancellara absolutely rocking down the road, about to catch his Minuteman, who started a minute before he did. Let's not forget, this is an individual effort by yourself against the clock.
Well, Cancellara's working very hard here. As I say, he's 5 minutes behind in the overall standings. He's not going to pull that back in a time trial of less than 15 miles. But he's a proud man because he's the world champion at this discipline. And you can hear from the crowd there, they recognise the rainbow jersey of a world champion.
Well, that jersey that he's wearing is recognised all over the world. It's a jersey that is sported by the man who is the world champion in that discipline. This is the profile of the route that the riders start. Of course, in an individual time trial, 14.5 miles today, you have to judge your effort to perfection. This is rather difficult because climbing up to half distance, and then after the top of that climb, it's pretty much downhill to the finish. The average speed I'm expecting today, around about 28.5 miles an hour.
All right, well, as we're looking at the boys here now, how do we know where all of the riders are in the Tour of California? Well, here, CSC reveal the secret. JJ Aedo gets it on the line. That was a big result. Voigt's going to win it. He takes the victory.
Yes, Voigt, CSC.
We've been sponsoring cycling for a number of years and sponsoring a team. What it means for CSC is incumbent upon us to be able to bring technologies to the fore to make cycling more interesting. The Tour gave us a great opportunity to be able to take the existing technologies and bring them together in a dynamic platform. What I mean by that is that we create a wireless GPS solution for tracking an entire field of objects simultaneously. In this case, all of the bikes within the race. This particular device is small. It's about 80 grams in weight. Basically, it's using the GPS technology that would track riders, and it can then show them in near real time on a mapping program. And that mapping program can be Google, it can be Yahoo Maps. The view will automatically zoom, and you'll see for the tagged riders, literally a round icon that'll have 2 to 3 different colors in it that represent each one of the jersey combinations. You'll also see a ticker along the bottom of the screen. That ticker will constantly be updated to show how far the lead group is on the entire course. And then it'll also show the riders that are tagged by team, by name, and by speed. That will give the viewers a lot more information on the race as it proceeds.
Yes, and you can follow all of that. Go to the website, amgentourofcalifornia.com, and keep right on top of technology. Now, just look at this, Paul. Cancellara is catching the rider in front of him, and he's absolutely flying here.
He certainly is. He's a class act, this man. I think maybe some of his major goals will be a little bit further down the season, but what's more important is at the moment he is, Bob, recording the fastest times at the individual points out on the course. You can see the power of this man, although he doesn't really look exactly comfortable.
Doesn't look comfortable, but he's going very fast. Went wailing past Andrew Bajadali right there.
Well, I'll tell you what, he's setting all the fast marks at the checkpoints now, so I think we'll see a new leader when we get down to the finish. We are at the start here, which, by the way, is only about 200 yards from the actual finish, as we're watching Ivan Basso now. A man who's won 38 races in his career. He's 29 years of age. He's on his way back after losing most of the season last year by being involved in a doping scandal, which, as of yet, is far from proven.
Well, Ivan Basso is out on course. I have a funny feeling Philly may well try and test his legs here this afternoon because for him it is rather important.
Well, as he goes off into the distance, let me remind you the coverage continues of the Amgen Tour of California, because tomorrow we're on stage 6 to be raced from Santa Barbara to Santa Clarita. That's 105 miles. We'll be with you at 5 Eastern or 2 p.m. Pacific time, of course, right here on Versus. Enjoy the final weekend of what is turning out to be a terrific bike race. And this man here, coursing the roads for the first time in a World Champion's jersey as time trial champion, he is setting the best times, and when he gets down to the finish, we're going to see a new marker.
I think we're going to raise the bar fairly high this afternoon. Not very many in this field, I don't think, can rival this man, Fabian Cancellara. And still he's got the power. Still he's got a very punchy pedaling style. And Bob, this is pretty much the purest form of the sport.
This is the purest form of bike racing, the man against the clock all by himself, and the race of truth.
Well, here he comes when he makes the left turn, and it's not easy on these time trial bikes. These are special machines, ultralight the riders keep just for the time trial. They're not allowed to use these bikes in mass start riding. He makes the turn, 200 meters now to the line, and there is the finish. Now this is going to be a great time by Fabian Cancellara, a new best time. Watch the clock. He's aiming at a time of Zerbel, and at 30:56 is the time to beat. He's way inside, 30:17. That is the ride of a world champion.
Well, that's why he is a world champion. That's a huge beating of that time.
Terrific performance, and so there's still to come. Watch out down at the start. This is the national champion of the United States. George Hincapie is warming up. He rode and won this time trial last year. And Cancellara is in with the best time. What can the world champion do against this man? Into the start house, the 88th rider to go is George Hincapie. He's the road champion of the USA, and he started last in this event last year because he was the race leader. Now he's in 40th place, and Bob at 3 minutes 15 behind his teammate Levi. I don't think he'd put his heart into this today, but you never know.
He'd love to get a result on today's stage. Hasn't quite come up with the goods so far in the Amgen Tour California after winning 2 stages last year. He could do it perhaps, but he'd need about 100 miles of road, only 14.5 miles in the solo race against the clock today.
Let's go back to the start house. There's the situation, by the way. Cancellara, we've seen finish best time, considerably good time, ahead of Zerbel and Tom Danielson, another teammate there of George Hincapie. This is now Paolo Bettini, who's never won a time trial, Paul, but as you know, he's the world road race champion.
Nickname is Il Grillo, the cricket, but he's won on almost every other terrain possible. Current world road racing champion, he's the Olympic champion. He will try and preserve a little bit of time and a little bit of honour on this individual time trial round here, but I have to say it is great to see Paolo Bettini riding here in the Amgen Tour of California this year.
Ivan Basso there on the little climb out on the back side of the course before he starts heading into the finish line in Solvang, joined by the big hair super fan there on your left. Ivan Basso getting it done. He's made a lot of tempo throughout this race for Levi Leipheimer, the race leader, his teammate on Discovery Channel cycling team.
And look at this, second best time at the moment at the halfway mark in 16:31, so he's beginning to fire. And you saw the crowds there, by the way. We have topped the 1 million mark so far in this week's Amgen Tour of California. We're heading for a record crowd. Let's go down to the finish because this is significant. This is Jason Donald in the white, picking off 1 or 2 riders who started in front of him. He was the big surprise on day 1. He only just lost the prologue time trial. It'll be a bit more difficult to do something on the longer distance.
Well, he's a big surprise, but as a professional, he's a young rider. He's still learning the ropes, but I tell you what, this man has done a sub 4 minute 1500 meter, a sub 9 minute 3000 meter steeple chase run. And I tell you what, here today, things, Phil, are not looking that good because I think, Bob, he's still learning a little bit. The effort over 14.5 miles, 33 minutes and 20 seconds. That was pretty tough.
Yes, it's been a tough ride for him, but that's okay. He certainly made his name this week, ride for Team Slipstream. This is Basso out on the highway, setting the second best time to Fabian Cancellara. We'll see what he can come home with. Will he rock the world time trial champion? And remember, Levi Leipheimer and co, well, they will be the last riders to start. Another great day in the Tour of California. The Danish settlement of Solvang, California, out in force today to see the time trial stage of the Amgen Tour of California. This is the map brought to us by Garmin. There's where we are. We stay in Solvang all day. We've got a number of riders in at the finish. Cancellara, the world champion, still best time.
Well, this man had second best time at half distance. This is Ivan Basso, the winner of last year's Giro d'Italia. The secret about riding a good time trial is to start with the engine hot. And I think, Bob, Ivan Basso is going to go very close indeed.
Ivan Basso pushing Fabian Cancellara, the world time trial champion. Great ride by Basso. Not quite enough, though. He's coming to the line. He's over the time of Cancellara, but a good effort by Basso, second fastest.
Just 25 seconds off the best time. I think he'll be pretty pleased with that because he's on the comeback trail and it's a long year ahead. So he's in, but what about his teammate George Hincapie, who's got that familiar style? George rode a great time trial last year. Even though he lost the race lead, he turned in a great ride.
Let's not forget, this man was second in the prologue of the Tour de France last year, so he knows how to ride individually. Here he is in the finishing straight. He's looking at 200 meters to go. And Phil, this is going to be a very close one. The time to beat is 30 minutes and 17 seconds.
Wow, that's a great ride. Still a little way to go, but he's going to come in second. Yes, he gets second, just over 2 seconds off the world champion. George, that was a very good ride, and I think he knows it. As he freels out now, let's go back down to the start house. Seems all Discovery Channel, but let's go and have a look now because this is Jason McCartney here. He's had a couple of silver medals in the USA Time Trial Championship, and he makes his start.
But Bob, as he goes away from the starting house there, it's really in an individual time trial, the most important thing is the preparation to get into the starting gate, to be hot and ready to go.
Well, we're on the highway here, but remember, in June, it's all happening on Versus, the most famous and prestigious boat race is sailing on. The America's Cup, that starts here on Versus, June 23rd. Watch out for it. Now down to the start house yet again. We're getting down to the big guns now. This is the former three-time world time trial champion from Canberra, Australia. This is Michael Rogers, 8th overall, just 19 seconds off the lead. He could be a difficult man to deal with today, Paul.
Yeah, the time trial is a very special discipline in the sport of professional cycling. We have many races where everybody rides together, but today every rider must cover the distance. Today's distance, 14.5 kilometers. He has to ride it completely on his own, Bob. There's no team support at all, is there?
It is a very special discipline. Like you said, it's one man by himself against the clock. It's a solo effort. And Mick Rogers, one of the very best in the world, 3 times world champion in this, the time trial.
Well, he's gone out, and just to his left shoulder is the arrival of Paolo Bettini, the world road race champion, the winner yesterday in San Luis Obispo. He hasn't done a great ride, but he's got round the course, and that for him is all he really wants to do. With the weekend ahead, he's going to look for another win, I think, and he's in 37th and 33.19 his time. That was just about average, I think, for Paolo Bettini, and we expected it. But this man, we expect big things from.
Well, you get a chance here just to see the kind of style these riders adopt in this individual test. The time to beat 30.17. You look at that strange helmet he's wearing. It conforms to safety standards, but Bob, the reason for that is to make the head and the body almost a single unit. That helps the rider go through the air a lot easier.
With the aero bars, this is the perfect position to make an effort by yourself against the wind and the clock. Michael Rogers, a specialist at this discipline. And look, you see how narrow his arms are. Not great for control of the machine, but perfect for slicing through the air.
Well, this is the situation down at the start-finish area as Chris Horner comes into the start house now after his great ride down through the mountains and down the Pacific Coastal Highway. He's climbed up into the top places in this race. He's not a great time trialist, but Sean Kelly, a former great rider, once said to us, when you're aiming for the yellow jersey, you can produce great time trials.
And I think that's really what Chris Horner will realise. 4th from last rider to start here this afternoon. He's well up in the overall classification. He has been a serious favourite. Just 3 riders left to go: Sutherland, Voigt and Leipheimer.
Yes, and they'll be warming up, and there they are, in fact, getting ready. Jens Voigt, after he's had a stage win, and after that great ride, is a real threat now to this man here, Levi Leipheimer. We're looking at a 3-second gap. One of them tonight should be back on top. But Levi Leipheimer wants to do a good ride, that's for sure. This is now Rory Sutherland. He is also a very good bike rider, 2nd in January's Time Trial Championships in Ballarat, Australia.
Little bit of a dark horse, I'd say, Bob, but let's not forget he's up in third place in the overall classification. He's looking to impress the European teams, the Pro Tour teams, and today he has an ideal opportunity to do just that.
For HealthNet, which is an American squad, if he could stay near the podium at the end of this stage, it would be an incredible result.
You may have noticed little pieces of cotton wool in the nose there of Levi Leipheimer. That's to help him breathe and get plenty of oxygen in the lungs. He's warming up to do, he hopes, the ride of his life. That's the situation. Cancellara ahead of Hincapie and Basso. That's world class. We'll take a break. It's a beautiful day in Solvang, California. There's a huge crowd watching the time trial. It could be the decisive stage of this year's Amgen Tour of California. This is the situation with only 2 riders left to go. Fabian Cancellara, the world champion, leads. George Hincapie is second. Ivan Basso sits third. And there are only 2 men, really, I think, who can upset this. And this is one of them, because this is Jens Voigt now on the start house. 2 minutes behind him, Leipheimer will start. And then the battle of the 3 seconds difference will happen.
Jens Voigt has ridden fabulously over the last 2 days. He really has showed us that he's a massive powerhouse, but this is a specialized discipline. He's going to have to do something rather incredible this afternoon. But he starts the day here with just a 3-second deficit on Levi Leipheimer, and he knows that.
Going into this final stage, Jens Voigt only needs 3 seconds faster than Levi Leipheimer, depending on what the other riders in the top 10 have done, to take that leader's jersey off of Levi Leipheimer. Team CSC's headquarters are not that far away. It's a very international squad run by one of the finest directors, Bjarne Riis, and Jens Voigt would love to deliver the goods. He's already got 1 stage win. He'd like to move up 1 more spot on general classification.
So he's out on the road, picking up a tailwind at the moment to make a good start, while back in the start house now is Levi Leipheimer. And there he is. Remember that so far the story has been all good for Levi Leipheimer, as we'll now find out.
Levi Leipheimer on discovery.
From the onset of this year's tour, Levi Leipheimer has been simply unstoppable. The last second win at the prologue gave him the initial lead. While a crash at the Santa Rosa finish looked to slow him down, the judges ruled that Leipheimer still the leader. Since then, it's been a game of strategy, with the star-studded Discovery team supporting him every step of the way.
37 minutes and 14 seconds. He has lost a whole chunk of time. He's fading away.
It was at last year's time trial where Leipheimer struggled, slipping from 2nd to 9th and losing 1 minute and 16 seconds to Floyd Landis, who would ultimately win the overall title. Now it's his lead to lose, with stage 3 winner Jens Voigt 3 seconds behind. It'll be a daunting task for Leipheimer to keep the yellow jersey.
I feel pretty confident. I've seen the course, I'm very strong, and I feel like I'm the best rider in the race, and I'm going to give it everything.
Well, he's certainly going to have to give it everything this afternoon. The wind is starting to rise in the latter part of the afternoon, and the last few times that he's come out to defend his position in a time trial, he's choked a little bit. But today, this week, he actually seems to be a man who is inspired by confidence.
And is he determined or what? Just look at that face. He knows 3 seconds means nothing at this level of cycling. He is a known good time trialist, but Jens Voigt has won many races in the time trial as well. They are very, very shortly going to both be out on the highway, and they are going to be running head to head. This is the man who's known no peer so far this week in the Amgen Tour of California, but today will reveal the truth. Listen to the crowd here. Leipheimer knows now. Let me out of this box, he's saying, because it's time to get on with the show here. There can't be a more determined face than that as he builds now. He'll go off the ramp and then he'll make a right turn, and he picks up a very strong tailwind.
An important day for him, Phil, now. He's got to keep himself high. He's got to get out there. He has the advantage, starting last man, of being able to judge his performance on the performance of the man starting right in front of him, because 2 minutes up the road is Jens Voigt, and he will be getting time checks. He can judge his effort.
Well, he's gone away, and listen, we are getting from out on the course here big news. Let's get down to the finish, Bob, because this is Jason McCartney, and his time is eating up the time of Cancellara. I don't believe this.
Absolute magic magical Amgen Tour of California for Jason McCartney so far, and he is putting in a fantastic effort in the individual time trial, rivaling the world champion Fabian Cancellara on time so far. Great ride by McCartney.
Well, look at this as he hits the line now. Jason McCartney has gone on top of the leaderboard with the best time. I make it 30 minutes, 5 seconds. The world champion has rocked there because McCartney has dug in and given us a huge surprise, which means now the Discovery Channel have the top of the leaderboard ahead of Cancellara. Boy, these boys are good, aren't they? And remember, too, that Cyclism Sundays is back. Television's premier cycling show will return with a preview of the new season, an in-depth look at the top teams, as well as cause of the latest on Floyd Landis. It all comes to you, the first programme, on March the 4th, and enjoy it. Well, we are stunned here by that ride. He delivered a very special blow as we go back out on course here to look at the former world champion.
Well, I'm still a little bit surprised on that performance because I don't know in the past if he's ever ridden quite so well against some of the top professionals. That was a quick glimpse there of Mick Rogers on course. This is Chris Horner. He's coming to the halfway point. It's important now to see whether or not he's going to get that little bit closer to a podium position. 7.5 miles covered, and it looks to me, Bob, as if he's actually not really got the fluid movements.
Chris Horner is great against other riders, but in the time trial, not so fantastic. Here's the descent on the course, and you got to watch these corners.
Yeah, I think he's not firing like you would hope. Not as hopeful as that red-tailed hawk that's flying around down there. It looks to me, though, as though he's gone. This is Rory Sutherland from the helicopter, too, and he's also not finding his big time trialing legs. That's the thing about the time trial. We always call it the race of truth because it is. The body never tells lies, and if it doesn't happen on the right day at the right time, you do a bad ride.
Well, different guys react in different ways, too. It's very difficult to actually get all of the energy out when you're completely and utterly on your own, but this man knows how to do it, and as he comes to the time check, that's the best time, 16:05. That's phenomenal.
We saw his face at the start, Bob. He has gone out with all adrenaline full on because remember that Jens Voigt is ahead of him and he's up on Voigt.
The last thing Levi Leipheimer wants to do is let the victory slip away. His team has put in so much work throughout the week in the Amgen Tour, and Levi needs to do the ride of his life.
And let's not forget, Bob, this man has actually been training on this course over the last couple of weeks leading up to this race, Phil, because this is where they had a team training camp, and I'm sure he knows these corners.
Well, the timesheets are telling us that, in fact, he was the best time when he passed through the check, but now he's dropped back to second because Levi has reached the same check. We're talking seconds here. Voigt has risen to this occasion now. 4 seconds is all he has lost. He's got lots of time to make this up because Voigt is a winner of time trials as well. Well, we hoped it would happen this way. It's a head-to-head between the top two, but that is the situation at the finish. Only these two can get better on that. We'll take a break, but come right back. Well, we know now that the battle of the time trial is between two men who are first and second in this race, and this is the leader, last man to start. It is Levi Leipheimer. Look at this, best time at the 7.2 check, 16 minutes 5 seconds, but Paul, Jens Voigt is breathing down his neck.
It is oh so very close. You know, in the past, this man we're looking at here, Levi Leipheimer, has crumbled because of the pressure in individual time trials, but this afternoon, I'm looking at his position here, Bob, and I think it's become a lot more aerodynamic.
Very lean, very low on the machine, and absolutely flying down the road. Levi Leipheimer getting it done in the time trial.
Let's get back down to the start because the arrival of the former 3-time world champion, Michael Rogers from Australia, is coming forth. We can see the timing board, and I'll tell you, it's not going to be a great time by the world champion, ex-world champion.
Well, let's not forget, 3 times champion of the world Michael Rogers has been. I'm looking at the way he's pedaling here. He doesn't look very powerful. Let's not forget, though, a lot of these riders in the Amgen Tour of California may well have goals a lot further down the season. Mick Rogers, of course, is looking at the Tour de France in July. He doesn't want to be on form, but that clock, Phil, is not going to be a very sight for him.
No, 30.05 is the best time, and 30.55, that's a 50-second defeat there. It's not about the position, which is ninth. It's about the time you lose now in a stage race. And Rogers will lose his high overall position, I think, as he finishes, though, back out on course now. This is the man we've told you all week. He refuses to lie down. Jens Voigt has won a stage. It's put him right up as a challenger. And we're still talking seconds between Voigt and just behind him by 2 minutes on the road, this rider here, Levi Leipheimer. They're head-to-head.
Well, look at Leipheimer. His body hardly moving at all. He's rock solid right in the middle of the handlebars. He tries to get his arms as close as possible without actually closing his chest, because he still needs to get lots of oxygen in there to keep the pressure, keep the tempo up as high as possible. We're looking at almost 30 miles an hour average speed for these riders. That solid disc wheel you can see at the back, by the way, that reduces the turbulence of the bicycle, but the most aerodynamic part of the thing we're looking at in front of us is actually the body.
Of course, it's the body. That's where the drag is aerodynamically. That's why Levi's trying to get as narrow as he can. He has his hands just in front of him. Knowing the course critical when the bike, machine, and the time trial is used, because it's not very easy to control these machines.
Well, he continues to clip those corners. A little bit of a speed wobble as we go down now to see the arrival of Chris Horner. Well, Chris was a big player at the start. He might slip a little bit here because, again, his time is not going to be among the leaders here. I think we kind of expected this. He's not a great rider against the watch. He's more at home on the mountains in the road race. But Chris will get a lot of cheers off the people as he comes up.
Thing about a rider like Chris Horner, he likes to feed off the energy of the other riders around him. It's very difficult to do this solitary effort on your own. He's going to lose himself a huge chunk of time. 22nd position.
Wow.
He's lost himself 1.5 minutes and probably a top 10 finish.
That is for sure. He looks at the clock there. He knows what he's done. And now this just behind comes Rory Sutherland coming in now. Again, another man who started amongst the leaders and is also slipping away a little bit. I'm a bit surprised about that, because this man, a silver medalist in the recent time trial championships of Australia, we expected a pretty good ride out of him, but he's also losing over a minute and a half.
Well, this is a completely different field he's up against here, because we are looking at some of the best men in the world. He's crumbled a bit.
There's the situation. Jason McCartney, the big surprise. What a ride he's done. Fabian Cancellara, the world champion, down second. George Hincapie sits third. That's the situation, but we know now that I think both Voigt and Leipheimer are going to get over the top of them.
Well, there's not very much more than 10 seconds between Voigt and this man, Levi Leipheimer, who still looks very comfortable on his machine. But I'll tell you one thing, when you look at Jens Voigt here, he really is not fluid, he's not classy, but he's fighting with guts. He's all over his machine. The man is a fighter.
The lonely road ahead, and by the way, you see he's not wearing his yellow jersey. That's his prerogative on this day of the time trial when speed counts, and this man is going good. And there really couldn't be a tighter end to the time trial today. This is Jens Voigt. He's not far away from the finish. He is recording best time at all of the checks, except for the man behind him, Levi Leipheimer.
His bike is all over the place. His body's all over the place. He's lunging for the line. That's going to be an incredible time, Phil. That's the first man to go inside of 30 minutes, 29 minutes and 58 seconds. That is throwing down the gauntlet.
It most certainly is. Jens Voigt has delivered another great time trial. Only one man can spoil his perfect day now. This is Levi Leipheimer. He's about 3/4 of a mile from the finish here. He's got to do 29.59 or better, of course, and he'll keep his yellow jersey.
He still looks pretty good on the machine, locked solid there. Sorry about the little bit of picture breakup, but these pictures are live pictures as we come down into the streets of the finishing town here. Look at him, Phil. He's looking very solid. He's looking for the banner. That's the banner indicating now there's just 1,000 meters left to go. That's the time to beat 29.58.51.
He's sweeping up the whole field now. Last man to start. Is it going to be deja vu from just on a week ago back in San Francisco when this race began? Levi Leipheimer won that by a single second, and he's not going to be far off that today as he races down. Voigt, you can't see him, but he's in the street there, staring at the clock on the finishing line. It's going to be very tight, but I don't think there's much doubt now. Leipheimer is going to win. It's going to be a question by how many seconds, and that's all we're talking about. Still at this stage, we are talking about seconds. The final touch of the brakes leads into the corner, just 200 meters up to the line now. Remember the time to beat, only one man has broken 30 minutes, Jens Voigt. Leipheimer is going to break it by quite a few more seconds than this as he comes up to the line now. This is going to be number one. Levi Leipheimer has done it again with one of the best time trials of his life, an 18-second beating of Voigt.
He's just been told, I think by his race radio in his helmet, Phil, that he's won the stage, and he will now know that he leads this race overall by 21 seconds. He's going to be a very happy man this afternoon because that was a phenomenal performance.
A massive crowd here in Solvang has enjoyed a great day, climaxing with a great winner. Let's remind ourselves how it all began. Midway through the field, it was the World Time Trial champion, Fabian Cancellara, who set the time for everybody else to beat.
Well, he's the man, the champion of the world in this discipline. He set the bar at 30 minutes and 17 seconds. Then, a little bit closer towards the end, a little bit of a surprise. A rider from Team Discovery Channel going out, Jason McCartney, and he stopped the clock in 30 minutes and 5 seconds. That was the new time to beat for everybody. We had to wait right until the last two riders came out of the starting gate, and it was Jens Voigt, the big German, battled to the line, stopped the clock inside of half an hour, 29 minutes and 58 seconds. Only one man left on course and one man on a mission who wanted to do better than that. Levi Leipheimer getting down into the handlebars, making himself as aerodynamic as possible. When he came to the line, 29 minutes and 40 seconds. That was the win of the stage, and that was extending his lead in the overall classification.
Yes, Paul, and how fitting the top two men in the overall classification have taken the top two places in the time trial, again split by seconds, 18 seconds. In fact, Leipheimer wins over Voigt. A great ride by Leipheimer's teammate, Jason McCartney, who's slotting in third. Voigt's teammate, Cancellara, fourth, and another teammate of Leipheimer, George Hincapie, there in fifth. The top two Pro Tour teams, in fact, taking the top 9 places. But take a look at the guy in 10th, Benjamin Jacques Maines. He has done a superb ride for Team Priority Health Cycling, losing 1 minute and 14, but what a great ride. Let's go down to the podium. Solvang is really alive with this today. A huge crowd cheering Jens Voigt onto the podium. He'll take his place on the opposite side to Jason McCartney there, who's already received his flowers, and then just the winner to come on board. Oh, what a wonderful time trial between these guys. And there is the trophy awaiting the man who has won the time trial today. And just look at that crowd. We've topped 1 million spectators now since this race began last Sunday in San Francisco. And they've been cheering one man, it seems, Levi Leipheimer, who is now right there on the podium. He's opened the gap a little bit. So as he salutes the crowd now, we'll just take a little bit of time out and have a look at our HealthNet move of the day.
Well, I have to say, the HealthNet move of the day today has got to be the move by Levi Leipheimer. He had all of the pressure on his shoulders, and when he came down to the finish line, he stopped the clock in the fastest time. In the past, he's crumbled in these time trial moments, but today, that moment there, he knew he'd won the stage and he'd extended his lead in the overall classification. For me, that today is the HealthNet move of the day.
Well, as we rejoin the action here, now let's have a listen to what Jens Voigt has to say about all of that.
Jens Voigt, a great effort in the time trial. In the end of the day, a little bit short.
Well, yeah, what can I say? I started hard. Usually I start quite fast, so obviously gives you a little extra morale if you're leading. But yeah, I just couldn't hold that speed in the wind. Yeah, it looks like Levi's really in top shape and is a good rider. So it's not a shame to get beaten by him. But of course, I would have preferred to win.
More chances to attack tomorrow?
Well, I mean, really, I guess Levi going to keep a close eye on me. The other day, I took him by surprise. I don't really think that will happen again, but we'll see how it goes.
Okay, good luck, Jens.
Thanks.
Yes, Jens there, one of the nicest guys on the professional circuit. He hasn't quite got the measure of Levi Leipheimer, but they've still got the weekend to come. This is the only man to wear the yellow jersey throughout this week of racing. He's come close to losing it on occasions, but he's kept it, and he's getting stronger and happier as the week unfolds. And he's going to feel pretty happy now because he's won the Race of Truth. He won the prologue in San Francisco. He now has the weekend to come, and it should be a good one for him. Levi Leipheimer is beginning to enjoy the Amgen Tour of California. Let's have a look then how they stand tonight as they go into the final weekend. Leipheimer has opened up that 3-second gap, and he's had to work for it. He's now got a scant 21 seconds over Jens Voigt, and Jason McCartney has now moved up into third place. He's a teammate of Leipheimer's. Bobby Julick's in the frame now as well with fourth. Looking a bit further down, Michael Rogers slipped a little bit there. Ben Day is still there, another Australian. Ryder Heisdahl is in 10th place. As we now look at the others, Rory Sutherland, he dropped away from the leaderboard really in 13th, and George Hincapie made a little bit of a return to 34th. Let's now go back down and listen from Levi.
Levi Leipheimer, you couldn't have picked a better time to produce your best ever effort in a time trial.
Yeah, today was definitely one of my best time trials ever. It's what I've been dreaming about for a year now. I want to win the Tour of California, and today was a huge step towards that.
We still have another hard day, but this must go a long ways in wiping out the disappointment from last year in the same time trial.
Yeah, I mean, you know, not only to defend my lead, but to win the time trial, I think for me was a great achievement for myself, and I have the strongest team in the race, and Discovery Channel will defend it to the end. I think we will.
Do you have any thoughts in your mind while you were warming up about all of the work that your teammates have done throughout the first 5 stages of the Tour of California?
Definitely. I mean, I thought about that a lot last night and this morning, and you know, I couldn't face the thought of letting them down. That was really what put the most pressure on me. I didn't want to have to tell them I was sorry that I couldn't pull it off, and that's what I told myself throughout the time trial.
All right, congratulations, Levi.
Thank you.
Well, I'll tell you what, Phil, as we look back at the day, it's not just the Team Discovery Channel, but it was a battle of the 2 top teams. George Hincapie was absolutely phenomenal, challenging the time of the World Time Trial champion. Hincapie, at the end of the day, rode a very good individual time trial and crossed the line in 5th place. I reckon that was a fairly impressive performance. But, you know, the man who set the bar very high early on is the world champion at this discipline. Fabian Cancellara is a long way down in the overall story of the race, but he had the pride of being the champion at this discipline. He faded a little bit towards the end, but still stopped the clock in 4th place. But this man surprised me and everybody else today. Jason McCartney then set a brand new best time. He ended up the day in 3rd place with what I thought was a phenomenal performance. And Jens Voigt is always the battler. He was looking to try and get himself right up there in the overall classification. He was looking for the race, but at the end of the day, he faltered a little bit when he came up against Levi Leipheimer, but he still finished in 2nd place. But this finish, this charge for the line by Levi Leipheimer, he was pushed on, I think, by the pressure of his team, by the pressure of having Lance Armstrong in the car behind him. And at the end of the day, when he stopped the clock, he got the victory just as he did on day 1. And that was a phenomenal ride.
But don't let's start popping the champagne corks just yet. There's 2 days of racing to go on the map here, brought to us by Garmin. We now swing inland. Santa Barbara's the start point, out of Santa Clarita for the finish. It's a long way too, of 105 miles. Stay with us all the way. Tomorrow we're with you at 5 Eastern and 2 Pacific as the Amgen Tour of California certainly goes on. We're still only seconds in it. Just over 20 now is the gap, not the 3 we've had for a few days. But I have to say, Paul, that as we watch the guys go out the start house today, this beautiful town of Solvang, boy, did they turn out.
Everybody turned out in style today for this individual time trial. The atmosphere was here, the crowd was here. It was certainly a European Tour de France flavour.
Well, these are the big riders, not just here in the Amgen Tour of California, but in the big races around the world, like the Tour de France. And Levi Leipheimer has come here all guns firing. Last year, you know, Floyd Landis won this race by 29 seconds over David Zabriskie. Zabrisky's already out of this race. Landis never started. And now Leipheimer has just that 21 seconds lead. It's always been a close race, but now I think tonight Levi Leipheimer will feel that maybe, just maybe, things are going his way. We'll know more tomorrow. For Bob Roll, Paul Sherwin, Phil Liggett saying so long for now.